YouTube. So today we're going to do a review of a channel called MythVision. And so MythVision's whole shtick is to basically just attack Christianity. Religion in general, Christianity in particular. And this individual's name is Derek. And the whole reason we would do a video like this is so this video is going to be addressed to Christians. And the reason I'm going to do this video and the reason it's particularly addressed to Christians is because you do not need to be intimidated by these types of people who push the mainstream narrative anymore. Not that you ever should have been, but at this point, if you can't tell how just ridiculous and incoherent a lot of these narratives are, it's just, you really only need above a room temperature IQ to see through a lot of this kind of stuff. So this is MythVision, and they have a video called, it's just basically around evolution and how it sculpted human morality. That's the basis for this video, and it's getting into sex, morality as it relates to sex. And so this entire video is a great example of how easy it is to address atheists, to address evolution, to address just the incoherent nonsense of characters and people like this. Because MythVision, one of the things that he likes to do is demonstrate to Christians how, look at the contradictions within the Bible. Look at the contradictions within your belief system. Look at the contradictions in the New Testament. Look at the Old Testament and how it condones slavery and things like that, and just how awful that is. Well, today we're going to look at this video and just, we're going to mock it because, for atheists and any normie out there who just gobbles up the mainstream narrative from people like Professor Dave and, MythVision and, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bart Ehrman and just all these people who just, some of them just blatantly lie about things. We're going to show the massive level of contradictions in this video as it relates to their own belief system. We're going to demonstrate how wrong they are about certain things, and we're going to demonstrate just the level of incoherent nonsense as it relates to their worldview. Because Christians, this is what passes as, scientific discussion from a mainstream acceptable perspective from all of these secular society. And this video is a joke. I mean, this video is a massive joke. And, there's probably going to be MythVision fans and atheists and others who come across this video, and they're going to get in my comment section and just rage comment. Some people they're admittedly not even going to watch the video, make comments. I've already addressed those comments in their videos, or they're just going to use vulgarity and, just be completely and utterly angry. And the reason a lot of these people do that is because, again, just getting into the hypocrisy of just the world that we live in today, those are the types of people, all these atheists and liberals and Democrats and MythVision and, Natalia Reagan, who is the other individual who's being interviewed and talks on this in this video. Those are the types of people that say, people like me, Christians, are brainwashed. We're brainwashed, we're ignorant, we're dumb. But the irony of that is that literally for my entire life, my worldview has been challenged it's just systemically challenged at every level. I mean, every major institution, from the public education system, from the government, plastering the LGBT narratives and flag being put all over the White House, to politicians pushing that, to public education system, completely teaching something that's utterly antithetical to the creation narrative in Genesis, to Hollywood to the media. I mean, there's even Hollywood will put out a movie called Noah with, you know, Russell Crowe as the star, and literally the backdrop of the creation narrative in a biblical movie like Noah is evolution. So we can't even really have our own movies out of Hollywood, you know. But I'm the one who's brainwashed. Yet, literally every day for my entire life, I've had my worldview challenged at every level. I mean, 20 years ago when I graduated high school, I was debating atheists on Christianity, the historicity of Christ, all that, which is everything that MythVision pushes against. I mean, this is nothing new for me. But why people rage post on my videos in my comment section, particularly Professor Dave fans, is because they're the ones who never ever have their worldview challenged at any intellectual level. They're not exposed to it. They never come across it. They're just in a echo chamber of secular crap 24/7. And so when when an intelligent person actually comes along just to demonstrate how stupid and childish and juvenile this entire, this video is, they can't stand it. They can't stand it because they hardly ever have their worldview challenged in the way that I've had mine challenged. So, this video is a fantastic example of just incoherent, contradictory nonsense as it relates to what passes for atheism, evolution, and science, mainstream secular talking points. And I mean, just to show you how immature and juvenile a lot of this stuff is, I mean, here's a couple of clips right here just to demonstrate how just childish these people are. Here you go.
Time. That's actually, if I were to be able to get a time machine, I'd want to go back to the Pleistocene and kind of, just be a fly on the wall. Who's getting down with who, anatomically modern human that, got down. I remember the first time I saw a spider monkey, first time I did any sort of preliminary spider monkey field work, the first time I ever really saw spider monkeys in the field, it was actually a spider monkey threesome. It was one male going back and forth between two females. 200 pounds of silos of seed in there, and they're inside, right? Because it's a whale. Imagine if those were, truck nuts, they would just be massive danglers. Talk about the submarine was taken out by his.
I know.
Baboons also means you can get upgraded to the fuck zone over time.
Yeah. So truck nuts and being a perv watching, former less evolved forms of ourselves getting it on back in the day, millions of years ago. Yeah, I mean, that's just high intellectual, extremely funny things to say. I mean, that's just childish crap. I mean, these are like two middle school kids flirting with each other, talking about boobs and whatnot. I mean, this is what passes as quote unquote entertainment, entertaining scientific discussion of these major scientific topics and cultural relevant moral discussions around sex and society and things like that. I mean, this is just immature crap. I mean, this is just low IQ crap. And I mean, anytime you get in these types of discussions with these just narrative pushing shills, I mean, of course you're going to have the very standard quote unquote message with all the narratives you think you would that would absolutely 100% obviously be related to morality as it related to sex and human evolution and how all that combined together. Because of course we need to hear about things like climate change and white supremacy and abortion and things like that. But I mean, just listen to this. Listen to these clips.
And this is why it's hilarious. Well, when I say hilarious, I mean more tragically so when we talk about eugenics or we talk about, white supremacy in Nazi Germany.
Oh, yeah.
In hybrids, like for instance, we have a lot of climate change. I don't know, maybe your viewers are not hip or quote unquote believe climate change, but we constant fight. You can't look at women's reproductive rights. If we let our guard down 5 seconds, we stand to lose.
Huge
things like trans rights and gay rights, and just kind of seeing leaps and bounds, and
Yeah. So obviously Hitler and Nazi Germany, the biggest scapegoat of all time, and modern anthropogenic climate change due to our modern technology of power plants and cars and carbon emissions and things like that absolutely has everything to do with millions of years of evolution and morality, which is a metaphysical concept around the sculpting of how we act as modern humans today. When literally none of that stuff existed. I mean, this is just how obviously gatekeeping and dumb this stuff is. I mean, just of course you've got to hear about the trans rights and all that, which completely contradicts evolution in a lot of ways. I mean, some of the stuff these people push completely and utterly is contrary to evolution, which we're going to get into. We're going to get into a lot of that because this video, and one of the major points that I want to hammer home for people is that MythVision and people like this love to play the morality game as it relates to Christians, and they love to pick and choose around, ideologies and philosophies that they'll borrow from, because they don't realize that, if you come from a Western foundation, Western civilization, your whole understanding, whether you like it or not, even in our secular society today, a lot of that foundation, the foundational principles around politics and how we view reality and morality and a lot of that, all comes from, in some way, shape, or form, the Greco-Roman historical perspective on politics and philosophy and Christian morality. The West, one of its founding pillars was absolutely Christianity, whether you like it or not. So your whole moral basis, which atheists have no good understanding of, especially from an evolutionary standpoint, your moral perspective, A, the fact that morality exists is evidence for God, and B, it is subjective. Their moral perspective is very subjective. It's based on their personal preference. And at the end of the day, this entire video tries to explain morality when in reality, it never even gets into any epistemological basis for morality. If you're going to sit here and try to demonstrate via evolution and over long periods of time, certain behaviors evolved our culture and things like that, at the very least, you would need to define what morality is. How do we know what is moral and what is immoral? What is morality? How do we know what is good and what is bad? How do we know what animals are doing is not instinctual? It's not just a behavior based on instinct or reaction versus a conscious decision to make a right or wrong decision. I mean, in this entire video, they come to the conclusion that morality is subjective. Based on their own belief system, they are admitting morality is subjective. I mean, listen to these clips.
I guess what I'm getting at is like, your point is the morality code, and it's very subjective based on the environment of the group, but we learned it from our ancestors. This is something that was proto-human, proto-homo sapiens.
So it's really interesting that we put this sort of shame or moral spin on sex, where a lot of the animal world, we evolved alongside these species, and it's just, we share common ancestors with them. So and a lot of our behavior we have to remember, is shaped by our environment and our culture. And
I want to allow you to give us, I guess, a recap or whatever you'd like to say as we wrap up this episode of sex, morality, evolution, and eventually we got to talk about Bigfoot.
Yes, Bigfoot's got to happen. No, I think, again, primate sex is really interesting. I love that there's so many different ways to do it. So, if you ever want to hear more about that, but yeah, they don't really put this sort of moral spin. I mean, sure, there's jealousy and, intrigue and things like that.
Yeah. So morality is subjective, and morality is a metaphysical concept that you can pick and choose arbitrarily when to apply it. Let's just pick and choose to arbitrarily apply it to sex, but not something like slavery in the Bible, which MythVision and his channel consistently pushes as if it's some giant moral objective against the Bible, the Old Testament, and Christianity. Well, Derek, if morality is subjective, what's your standard for arbitrarily not applying moral codes and moral standards to copulation and sexual degeneracy and sexual promiscuity, but placing it on, objectively placing it on race and slavery? Why is slavery bad? Why is favoring one race over another bad, especially if those things could be good for the species? Why would you not promote something like superior genetics, copulating and procreating, and inferior genetics dying off, and using inferior genetics to prop up the superior genetics? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Why are you arbitrarily, you have no basis for why you're arbitrarily applying morality in one area versus another. You're only doing it because the biggest cultural taboo that exists today is racism and slavery. That's why you do it. 200 years ago, you'd be the same person accepting whatever mainstream narrative existed then. These are the same people who contradict themselves like this. They look at evolution. Here, folks, this is Charles Darwin's, On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. Literally, if you believe in evolution, Darwinianism, or even neo-Darwinianism, the modern synthesis, your entire belief system is predicated on a hierarchy of the races. You could easily argue Charles Darwin's entire theory was to prop up the Anglo-Saxon race above other races. Yeah. Your entire belief system is so incoherent and contradictory that you never even apply this kind of crap to what you believe. Oh, there's slavery in the Bible. Charles Darwin was a racist. Your entire evolutionary belief system is predicated on the fact that if groups of people or groups of organisms, even if they're the same species, populations of them are separated for long periods of time, they will develop different genetics and biology. So the differences will be, more than skin deep. It'll absolutely be more than skin deep. Your belief system says that. Not mine, yours does. So you have MythVision, who will also say things like this. This is just them getting things completely wrong. This video completely contradictory. Just completely contradicting evolution. Listen to this. I believe this is when Natalie says, race is not biologically based. It's only a social construct. Okay. Yeah, listen to this.
Tragically so, when we talk about eugenics, or we talk about, white supremacy in Nazi Germany, and this whole idea of wanting this pure race, it's like, hello, hybrid vigor. You know what I mean?
So I do know what you mean.
Yeah. There's nothing good about this pure. No.
Well, first of all, define what is good. Why is it bad, Natalie? Why is it bad, Derek? If morality is subjective, and I could argue that having those beliefs would be beneficial to the species or to certain groups of people.
Well, there's no such thing as that. But in fact, when a species begins, there's this thing called founder's effect, and there's more genetic diversity in the beginning of a species. And then as it spreads out over time and space, the diversity dwindles down. And our own species, humans are at the core of it across the globe. We're 99.9% genetically identical. So this idea of races are biologically different. No, they're not.
That is such a good myth to debunk.
It's a myth to debunk that races are biologically different. Listen to this.
With the existing ideologies that are around all the time, this is good.
Yeah, there's no biological basis to racial classification. Especially when we look at the different things.
There's no biological basis for racial classification, even though I can go send in a sample of my genetics to 23andMe, and it will give me my ethnic ancestry based on race. Oh, you're 50% French. Oh, you're 0% African. Yeah, this is wrong. This is completely wrong. Especially based on their own belief system. This is how incoherent and nonsensical it is. Yeah, there's no biological basis for the different races. It's all just a social construct. Except I, as a white male with European descent, am more likely to be able to receive bone marrow from other white males of European descent. You know why? Because there are biological differences between the races. Yeah, your belief system says that. But being liberal, dumb Democrats, modern liberal, leftist, atheist Democrats, you just have to push your incoherent, low IQ nonsense that people just eat up. I mean, people, they don't even think about this stuff. They literally don't even think about this stuff. I mean, it's really not even that interesting reviewing videos like this. But I mean, my God, MythVision has exploded. They had almost 300,000 subscribers, and people are just like, oh, I mean, you go down the comment section of this video, oh, this was so informative. Really? I bet it was. I bet it was to a child who doesn't know anything, that's easily brainwashed and can't have any critical thinking skills on how they just contradicted their entire belief system. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, here's another clip of Derek. I'm not going to say he's lying or anything, but this is just completely wrong. Just a complete false representation of Christianity. I mean, listen to this. Listen to this.
And something I want to bring it kind of back to kind of the MythVision base of someone who was coming out of religion. And in many of the people who give their kind of exiting Christianity interview with me and how they ended up going, not always, but sex gets brought up in some way, shape, or form as a prevalent or important part and aspect of their journey. It seems that the religion that I was taught, the way that I was taught it, made it a bad thing.
Well, then you were taught a false. That's not something Christianity teaches. Christianity does not teach that sex in and of itself is bad. It's not something Christianity teaches. You had bad teachers, or I mean, I don't know if you're telling the truth at all. That is not what Christianity teaches. Christianity absolutely, be fruitful and multiply does not imply that you're celibate. Talking about a wife and having children and the fact that children are a blessing and, fill up your quiver because children are a blessing to families and fathers and parents, and children obey your mother and father. All of that implies you procreate. To procreate, you must have sex. Christianity does not teach that sex in and of itself is bad. It does teach that man can pervert the crap out of it and use sex for only just pure pleasure, which can lead to a lot of bad things like fatherless households, like unwanted children, like needless attachment for certain people when they make an intimate covenant with one another like that. It's not meant for you to have a million partners. Why? I mean, look at our society and all the chaos. Yeah, one of the reasons we have it is because of the failure, is because of the just rampant attack of the traditional family. And you have all these kids that are just, through the foster system, they're from divorced households. They're just rampant sexual degeneracy and promiscuity that's tearing families apart because people are cheating on one another and all this kind of crap. And literally this video Natalie and Derek are just promoting, they're basically just promoting sexual degeneracy. Yeah, fornicating and sexual degeneracy, that's not a problem. That doesn't cause depression and spread disease and, cause all kinds of unwanted, issues in society or anything like that. Because yeah, the monogamous standard of the greatest civilization that's ever existed, Western civilization, is a bad thing. Monogamy. No, the standard around the world today is monogamy. I mean, you look at all developed countries, the standard is monogamy. It's not spider monkey threesomes. It's not promiscuity and porno and all the nonsense that's just completely and utterly ruining society and promoting sex trafficking, and which you people couldn't even define why sex trafficking is bad, because morality is subjective. Don't put a moral spin on sex. I mean, this video, Christians, is just a great example of how much the narratives have failed. How much the secular narratives, A, are just wrong, and B, how incoherent and contradictory they are, and how much they failed. Look at our society. Look at our society. These people are pushing a ton of stuff that has just completely and utterly destroyed our society. What do you like the world that we live in now? Is it a great world? It's great to have, sexual promiscuity and families being torn apart and unwanted children and fatherless households and, crime rates go up. Literally, trust the science. Okay, every measurable statistic that matters demonstrates that the best thing for a society as it relates to raising children is a traditional biological father-mother household. That's the best thing. It's one of the best things to help maintain a civilization. And these people are pushing against it, and their fans don't even realize how bad this stuff is, how incoherent, dumb a lot of this stuff is. I mean, if you can't tell that a lot of these mainstream narratives have failed at this point in our society, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, I thought this would be a little fun, slightly interesting. But I mean, Christians, this is what passes as, just science, entertaining scientific discussion of just things that are obviously true. I mean, this is just nonsense, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.